had better make immediate preparations for the destruction of the reserve currency of the world. So I asked him this question. I said, is the dollar any longer the reserve currency of the world? He said, no, positively not. He said, it's gone. He said, some may try to think that it still is. Now, reserve currency means what they're holding. And as you saw in the previous DVD, China now is stepping out of using the dollar, is going to other currencies. As of last week, they've begun buying Canadian currency and stepping out of the American dollar. So the elite owning everything through the Federal Reserve is probably the next greatest concern of every American, and definitely need to consider what the Federal Reserve is doing to you, because that is the elite in the highest form. The derivative disaster should definitely be a concern of every American, and I hope that you will do some studying as to what a derivative is. Very few people understand these very complicated instruments. And if I could give any financial advice at this point, I would say get out of paper. I know we're trying to sum it all up here now if we can, and then I'll go into some other things, but get out of paper, first of all. Get out of paper of every form you've got it. Whether it be a T-bill or a bond or whatever it is, paper is worth what it's written on. And he made it very plain that their currency is not paper. They're into everything but anything tangible. And of course, from that point, get out of debt at any cost. Very few Americans can do this. Nearly everyone has credit cards through their Gazoo. They have a house that's got a mortgage, an automobile that's mortgaged. I don't know how to solve that problem for the average American, because there's so little currency available out there now because of the devaluation. But if it's any way that you can keep from buying those boats, those toys, the other things that get you so much into paper, then try your best to stay out of them. I was told by the elite that within 2 years you will not recognize America. I gave this in my last DVD set. I was also told that nearly everyone will work for the government. Now, since only 6 months ago, when I made the previous DVD and made this statement, as this man gave it to me back then, look how many people are working now for the government, and look at the condition that the states have gotten in. There are 25 states today that are on the verge of bankruptcy. California, the 7th largest economy in the world, is now issuing IOUs. Arizona is $1.5 million in arrears, and they're cutting jobs, state jobs, everywhere imaginable. Do not depend on anything from the government, state or federal.
Then are you saying you better not be depending upon that welfare check?
Retirement
or that funds? Medicare? Retirement, okay.
Retirement accounts. Those of you who have worked for the state all these years, you're retired now, you're sitting back. California is in horrible condition. Unemployment, you've got it now. But this gentleman said to me, as I explained in detail in DVD number 1 and 2, within 1 year's time you will see the value, the purchasing power, the devaluation of the dollar between 30 and 50%. That means your retirement account. What are the states going to do with the amount of revenue that's not coming in from taxation? I mean, the tax shortfalls. Can you imagine the billions of dollars of tax shortfall that is not coming in? For instance, when I caught the airplane to come over here to do this DVD, I had to fly about halfway across America, and I asked the shuttle driver as I was going from the house to the airport, I said, how was business over Christmas? Oh, he said, Super Shuttle had the worst Christmas season it's ever had in over 30 years of operation. I said, what in the world is going on? And he said, it's still that slow. And he said, I was one of the original drivers for Super Shuttle many years ago. And he said, we have dropped off to the point that we've never seen anything like this in 30 years. I said, what's happening? He said, well, first of all, the business class people are not traveling now. And he said, secondly, he said the families said, well, as bad as the economy is, maybe we just should forego flying, going to see Grandma and Grandpa this Christmas. Well, as a result, can you imagine how many airline tickets that there was no tax, which goes to the federal and the state government on those airline tickets, on that shuttle fare, on the gasoline that the airlines didn't use, on all of the tax shortfalls all over this country? Can you imagine 3 to 6 months from now, whenever the taxes, whenever they finally tally, because government, state and federal government's always 3 to 6 months behind on tallying the income that they get from taxes. Can you imagine what's going to happen with California, who is already issuing IOUs, and Arizona, $1.5 million in the arrears? And when these tax shortfalls show up 3 to 6 months from now, do you really think that you're going to be able to depend on your pension and your welfare and your food stamps and all of these other things that you're depending on? Folks,
Nope.
If it's written on a piece of paper, you've got to get self-sufficient. Somehow, you must find a way. Try to get out of debt. Try to get self-sufficient every way it can. If it happened in other cities, can it happen in other cities across America? I need to ask a question here. And then we're going to show you something. It's going to startle you. Maybe some have seen this. Maybe you've heard some things about it. Can it happen across America what has happened in Detroit? Detroit was the automobile industry. It was the star city that was an example to all of the rest of the world of total success. After the elite initiated the New World Order, they moved abroad our industry. They took things to China and India. They moved our industry everywhere imaginable, to Mexico. And what happened to Detroit? They of course made America a bilingual society now. That means that we must have 2 languages.
Yes.
Well, no culture can exist as a bilingual society in the first place. I mean, it shows the eventual downfall of the nation when we are more than one language. They took away the God of America and destroyed us morally. And understand now that 1/3 of the internet is pornography. I never look at it. But someone gave a lecture the other day. I happened to hear the lecture. A famous Christian man out of Colorado Springs was lecturing, and he said 1/3 of the internet is pornography.
Wow.
I mean, with America in this condition, I'm asking the question, can what happened in Detroit happen all across America? So I'd like you to watch. And at this point, we're going to play what is happening in Detroit right now. And then I'll go more into, can it happen?
Well, I've taken you to Canada, to Guantanamo Bay, but this time it really looks like I pulled the short straw because I'm here in the Motor City. Welcome to Detroit. Detroit. It's become a bit of a punchline in this country, but you have to ask yourself, how did one of the wealthiest cities in the country become this? Detroit used to be the city with the highest median household income of anywhere in the country, and now it ranks 66th out of 68. It also has some of the highest crime rates, unemployment rate, and lowest graduation rates of anywhere in the USA. In a nutshell, Detroit sucks. But why? Oh, that's why. I forgot.
Well, to start, it's no secret that Detroit is run entirely by leftists. Every single mayor of Detroit since 1961 has been a liberal. It is the city of entitlement programs. Leftists always tout their policies as a way to help the poor and give our fellow man a leg up. Well, how's that working out for them? And how did it get this way? It all started with Mayor Jerome Kavanaugh, elected in 1961. He expanded the role of government in Detroit to an unprecedented level, particularly under President Lyndon Johnson's presidency with the Model Cities program. What's that? You've never heard of the Model Cities program? Well, I'll show you.
Now, the Model Cities program is considered by many to be the first great step